Okay, hello. As I promised online to some people, I would be making a tutorial how to create your own decals. If this video is a little bit shaky, it's because I'm having to use my phone today to do it because my mum's gone on holiday and taken my camera with her, my good camera anyway, so I'm having to use my phone to make this video, so hopefully the quality shouldn't be too bad. So we'll get to it. So what we need to do is, give me a second to... Right, okay, sorry about the lininess on the screen here. So what we need to do first is you need to open up your Photoshop or whatever to create your own decal design. This is one I've got printed out. There's some things for a future project here. These are things for my dystopian wars, vehicles and tanks and such. These are all dystopian wars stuff. So, and we'll need a few supplies as well. Some matte varnish. Some companies do a decal setting film spray to go with their products, but I find this stuff's just as good. And a decal choice paper sheet. This one is white backed because of the light colours involved in some of my decals, and as well the flags and things. So use your Photoshop. Make sure you fill as much space as you can, because this stuff is quite expensive to buy. And then I cut my sheets in half and make them A5. So you just don't worry about that setting there. If it cuts some off, I'm not really too bothered. I'm just going to change it to best photo. Make sure it's A5 and borderless and landscape. We're just going to change this to it's semi-gloss paper, super fine detail, and then we just print our copy out. The printer's going to take a little while. For this I'm using an Epson X305 series. So when it's done, you leave it to dry. Don't touch it on the paint tray for at least, I'd say, 10-15 minutes. Then come back and I'll see you then. Okay, and when planning your decals as well, I would always advise that you print a couple of copies of your decal sheet on plain paper. I've just used the basic setting here, just so I can get a rough idea of the full scale, because looking at it on a screen you can't really judge the final outcome of the sizes, so you can actually cut these out and put them on your models as mock-ups. But I would always advise printing a couple of these off first before you go ahead and use your decal paper, because with this stuff being as pricey as it is, especially here, I know for you guys in the States, Testers do some and it's quite good value for you guys there. I think you can get them for like $10 a pack for 6 sheets, but in England it's about £3 per sheet, which is like $6 a piece, so you want to make sure you do a good job on it before you commit to printing these off. So there you go. I'll show you the following parts very shortly because it's nearly finished printing. About, I'd say, leave it a good 10-20 minutes, half an hour before we go on to the next part, which will be spray on a very thin coat of a varnish of your choice. I use Humbrol varnish because it's cheap and easy to find and it's designed for hobby use. Or you can use things like Microsol, paint it on if you want, Microset from all different sorts of things you can use just to make sure that your decal ink doesn't run. So much for laser printers, you don't need it so much, but it's still always good. Okay, so see you shortly. Okay, so here's the decal paper. It's nicely dried and now it's in my spray box. So what we're going to do, take our gloss varnish. I've already shaken this up for a while, so make sure it's well shaken up. And then we're going to take it from a good sort of 30 centimetres away and give it a very light dusting. make sure there's no dust or anything that can settle on the paper. Now we're going to leave that for about, I think this stuff takes about 5 minutes to dry usually, and then we're going to go back with a slightly heavier coat over that. Okay, so I've left it to dry for 10 minutes, and now I'm going to come in with the second coat. This time a bit heavier than before. You want to make sure this is as even as possible. Excuse me. Could really do this with a extractor fan or a mask on, but so what this does is it actually seals the decal in, so that when you cut it out and when you're ready to use it, you've got a nice stable thing and none of your ink's going to run. So I tend to give it between 2 to 3 coats, depends on how durable I want them to be. But the more varnish you put on, the thicker your decal's going to be. But you want the coating to be thick enough so that when you put it into your decal, either if you use decal chemicals or whatever to adhere your decals, like decalfix or whatever, which is usually an ammonia-based product, you don't want it to run the alcohol or even water. Run the decal. So I tend to spray the second coat or third coat on, and I tend to leave it for a good solid 12 hours to make sure everything is settled down and it's well and truly dry. Because I've done it before where I haven't left it quite as long as I should have done, and it makes an atrocious mess. So I tend to leave them for overnight usually. So now it's sort of like 10:30 at night, so I'll probably do these tomorrow when I get round to actually doing these, and I'll tag on to the end of this video of me attaching some of these decals, although I'm pretty sure you guys know how to use decals, but this is how to make your own decals. So until next time, thanks. Okay, so now the decal sheet has had a chance to dry overnight. It's all sealed in, so now I'm going to show you how to apply your own custom decals. So obviously you'll need your sheet you've just made, a hobby knife or X-Acto blade, a decal setting agent of your choice. I use Humbrol decalfix, tissue paper or kitchen roll, paintbrush, some tweezers, a pipette to get the decalfix out of the bottle, and a shallow container to put the decalfix in. So, and we'll be using this Dystopian Wars Avenger class fleet carrier thing that I'm going to deck to place my decals on. It's already been painted and sprayed with a varnish to protect it from the decalfix. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut out our decals of choice, which is these ones. Carefully cut them out of the film. Right, so take that away. So now what we need to do is we need to separate these up. So try to be a little bit neat this. So, but the next part is very important. I'm just doing you could use scissors for this. So next we have to make sure we trim this as close as we possibly can to the decal. Even try to clip the edge of the decal if possible, but make sure it's straight. With this being white decal film, because obviously printers don't print white unless you have a very, very extensive one. So we need to make sure this is cut as close as we can, otherwise you're going to end up with a white border around your decal, which we don't want. So just gonna bear with me a second. I'm just going to go get a new X-Acto blade because this one's a little bit blunt. Okay, back in just a second. Okay, well, I've got my new X-Acto blade, and I've got a pair of scissors as well, so I'm just going to trim these down. So these decals are a bit bigger than the smaller ones, you can get away with scissors. This can take some time, so just trim these down as close as we can get them. This is actually the official Kingdom of Britonia flag from the Dystopian Wars website. I took it directly from their blog feed and shrunk it down on Photoshop to create the decal. If you are interested in getting a free copy of Photoshop CS2 is now available for free off the Adobe website. So I'll attach a link to this video as well where you can go download it. It's not as up to date as the modern versions of Photoshop, so it can't do some of the really fancy things, but it's good for this sort of thing. You could just use Paint or Microsoft Word, but I've found with Microsoft Word when you start adding a lot of decals, it's very difficult to judge the size of your finished decals. I find Photoshop is very useful for that because you can resize, change the saturation levels and the colour levels and go in and touch them up, add extra bits of detail if you want, even make your own custom decals like I did for some of the ones on that sheet. And of course, because it's free, why not? Okay, so that's how our decals cut down. So what we need next, decalfix. If I get the lid off. So place a little puddle in the corner. Make sure your decal goes paper side down. Pick these blinking decals up. I want to leave it for a good minute or so. Just drag them out a bit. Take out one of my dog hairs that's found its way in there. My little dog gets everywhere. Just try and drag them out a little bit. Just leave those for a couple of minutes. Whilst they're soaking up, we're going to take our battleship, or in my case, an aircraft carrier. Just going to apply a little piece of the carrier film to the model where we want the decals to go. This just helps us move the decal around a bit. This has also got a gloss coat over the top to help with the movement. Well, what this will do is when these decals are on, the decalfix will pull down the decal into the recesses on this model. Let's just check if these are ready. Not quite yet. These decals take a little bit longer to come off of the backing paper than some of the ones that you're probably used to. Okay. Nope, we're not quite there yet. Oh, just knocked the table. Just check. Let's see. Yep, we're there now. So, I'm just going to slide the decal a little bit. So we have the backing paper to hold on to. And then we're going to make sure we get them the right way up. have a brush with some decalfix. Just apply it. Sure, our brush is damp with some decalfix. Shall we position it? There we go. One down. Next one. Oop. There we go. And then for our last one, sure you're getting the idea now. Okay. So the good thing about this Humbrol decalfix, it reduces the silvering of your decals by quite a lot, especially if you're painting them onto applying them to a matte surface like a First World War fighter or something like that. Okay, so what you do now is just leave these for about 12 hours for the decal to fully adhere down. So what we can do is I usually just go over them quickly with an extra thin coat of decalfix just to make sure we're getting good adhesion. If you do get air bubbles underneath, you can go back after they've dried and with a bit more decalfix, put some decalfix over the top of the decal, come back 5-10 minutes later, and then the decal will be malleable enough for you to go over it with a cotton wool bud or something like that to get the decal out. So there you go, that's how to create and apply your own custom made decals to your model kits. Hope this has been helpful and useful to you, so until next time, thanks guys. Okay, and here is the finished article about 7 to 8 hours later. The decals are fixed down to the surface and hooked down to the panel lines, and they've come out in a very nice matte colour. No silvering. There's a little bit on that one, but a bit of matte varnish and that'll be sorted. I'll give you a little look at the try and get close into these details so you can have a look at the decal. Obviously, because of the small size, they can't quite see the sword. I'll show you a picture of what it should look like. Just give me a second. Just put you down. Picture of the flag in here. There should be. Ooh. Okay, there's no flag in that one. I have so many rule books. Okay. Oh, definitely one in this book, I know that. I think this is the book I actually took the flag from, I believe. There we are. That is what it should look like. There, and that's the model shown in the video, the Avenger Fleet Carrier. So there, you get a good idea of how to create your own decals, and hopefully you'll give it a try yourself. Any questions or comments that you want to leave, or if you want to know some more information, please drop a link or a comment in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time,